Well, happy CX Day, everyone. I'm Gabe Smith, CCXP, and I'm the Content Manager and Associate Director for the Customer Experience Professionals Association, or CXPA. And we're here to share with you today the outcomes of CXPA's recent strategic planning sessions that will inform our direction in 2022 and beyond. So I'm so excited to be joined today by three special guests to discuss what's next. Barbie Fink, CCXP, 2021 CXPA Board Chair. Nancy Porte, CCXP, 2022 Chair-elect. And Greg Melia, CAE, the CEO of the CXPA. You know, last week we had the strategic planning sessions. We had several online sessions actually that involved CXPA staff, board of directors, as well as some invited guests to help really guide CXPA as we wrap up 2021 and as we head into 2022. So Barbie, I'm interested in hearing first from you. Who was involved in these discussions and why?
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. So a key initiative for the CXPA this year has been to involve more people in the leadership of the organization overall, whether it's on the board of directors, very specific project work groups, or conversations about our future. So we sought to include a broad range of participants, including committee members and network leaders, partners, and members from across the globe. We invited more than 50 people to participate, and just over 40 participated at some point during the 2 days. Our goal was to make sure that we're bringing voices to the discussions that haven't been there to help us make decisions that are inclusive of the diversity of our community. And for me, the other thing that's really important about all of this is that having those voices be included is really all about our future leadership for our association.
Barbie, that's wonderful. And one of the things that I love about CX Day is our theme is CX is a team sport. And what you have just described is really indicative of that, the fact that we've been working to expand our definition of team. Our definition of team is not just the staff, it's not just the board, but bringing in those members and those members of those project work groups to engage in those conversations that are going to help move us down the field. So I love that. Love to hear that. Nancy, would also love your perspective. What were the goals of the sessions in your mind?
Thanks, Gabe. Well, really the number one goal for me as the incoming chair was to listen. And what I wanted to really do was hear what our membership and our leadership is looking for us to do in this next year. So we built the agenda that was really based on what we have been doing this year and how we can build on that, and also incorporating the feedback that we've heard this year. And the key questions that we asked our participants were really around how do we deliver around the new mission and vision that was adopted last fall? And how do we align all of those activities around there? So again, the goal was to hear what's working well, but also how can we build on the accomplishments from last year and further advance the CXPA. I think when people see all the things that we're doing in CXPA, they think we probably have a lot of people, but in actuality, we have a small staff and a fairly limited board. And so the involvement, bringing in the voices, as Barbie said, but bringing in all the voices and really helps us be better.
Yeah, small but mighty staff and board team that is strengthened by the voices and perspectives of our members. Greg, anything to add to Nancy and Barbie's comments?
Yeah, I think I just really want to share my sense of pride and how thankful I am for CXPA's commitment to expanding the voices that are included in our leadership conversations. You know, it's wonderfully progressive for any organization to have the entire board of directors and staff participating alongside those who are key stakeholders. You know, in our case, members from around the globe. We had folks joining in from Australia, India, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Peru, Guatemala, and more. We had volunteers from our different key projects, the CCXP program, the Book of Knowledge, the Facilitating CX Monograph Series, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, our studies in higher ed and connections to CX. We had people who are currently practitioners within a CX company, as well as consultants and industry providers, collaborative partners, and a great participation from the academic community that supports CX. So it was just really a very broad group. And one of the silver linings of the pandemic was the idea that we all are used to participating in virtual conferences now. So it would have been impossible, or at least not very affordable, to bring together all of these voices and perspectives unless we were having remote participation. So I was really proud to see us embrace the opportunity and make the most of it.
Greg, I think that's wonderful, and it certainly echoes, how I felt as a participant in those sessions. Sharing and hearing from those diversity of voices, as you said. Barbie, as you reflect on the sessions, and as you reflect in terms of all that you've accomplished in your role here with CXPA over the last year, did you feel a sense of pride?
Absolutely. For me, my sense of pride is really about the way that we're living our values. It's really about looking at bringing those different voices in. It's really about listening to those variety of voices and recognizing that as we are connected to each other, as we share diverse voices, as we bring different ideas to the table, we're stronger in terms of what we have to offer to our members. We're stronger in helping our community and our membership grow as leaders themselves. We're thoughtful about the way we bring their voices forward to help them grow. And it's all about supporting CX professionals, no matter where they are or what they're doing at every stage of their career. And I feel like this particular segment that we had last week with our strategy sessions and bringing those diverse voices to the table is a way of living those values. And that's what I'm really proud about.
Yeah, as you should be. And thank you, Barbie, for your leadership in getting us to this point. It's been great to see. And Nancy, I want to ask you, as you prepare to become board chair this coming January, what were your reflections? How did you feel about the conversations that you heard?
I would agree with everything that Barbie said. And they were such rich conversations. I've been part of CXPA since the day it started and have been involved in a lot of different conversations. But this one, I walked away more inspired and more excited about our future than any other conversation I had been part of. And a big part of that I'll echo in Barbie and Greg's comments as well was around the diversity of the participants. We have such great leaders in all parts of the world, and CX as a profession is moving forward at just such a fast pace. So we're seeing innovation in all different parts of the world. We're seeing creative, innovative ideas in Australia and the Netherlands and in Turkey and the UK, as well as the US. And so bringing this whole group together and hearing those accomplishments, those successes, those ideas was just amazing and really has inspired me for the next year.
Yeah, and Nancy, totally agree. And to echo sort of your point, I think we had 6 hours of discussion over a couple of days. And, sometimes you stare down those long meetings on the calendar and think, my gosh, how are we going to fill this time? But the time flew by. And I think the time flew by for me because the discussion was energizing and was really centrally focused on how do we propel the mission of the CXPA forward? How do we build on the foundation that has been laid to take us to new heights over the next few years? And so I'm really excited to share a little bit about what we discussed over those 2 days and 6 hours. So Nancy, would you like to get us started on that?
Oh, sure, Gabe. And I was so glad that you were part of the meetings as well. We love your involvement. CX is, we can tell, your passion as well as all the great things that you do for us. So we look forward to you being involved for a very, very long time in the future, FYI. But speaking of long time, so one of the conversations that we had was around the CX career. And the fact that, you know, from beginning to end, it can be an amazing career. Those of us who found it always, I think one of the common themes I always hear is once I found CX, I knew where I belonged. And so that inspiration is great for everyone. But we also know that there are challenging and difficult parts to making CX a career. And so the CXPA is dedicated to really supporting the CX professional at every stage of that career, whether it is the beginning part, the middle part, or even as you're heading into retirement. So we had some great conversations around that, and some specific items that we talked around was really around like strengthening the mentorship program. We have a great mentorship program, that there's other ways that we can provide help to our CX professionals. So we talked about ways we could do short-term mentoring as well as long-term, maybe even some group mentoring. And we also talked about how we can not only make it a great program for the mentee, but also provide education and help with the mentor and make it a real rich experience for them as well. So mentoring really was a big topic for us. The other topic that I was very excited about was providing educational resources, particularly for the pre-CCXP. Although we'd look at the entire journey of our CX professionals and look at where educational opportunities are required. So I think we talked about using a lot of the tools that we use on an everyday basis to understand the journeys of our CX professionals, and then the educational opportunities that we can provide proactively as well as, you know, as needed on demand for our CX professionals. So Greg, did I miss anything there?
Once again, you did a fantastic job, Nancy, especially making sure that we recognized Gabe. And I agree with you. A very, very long time, Gabe. But here's how I summed up the career advancement section and how I think we'll be integrating it into our 2022 work plan and beyond. CXPA will identify, develop, and support CX professionals from day one through retirement by providing guidance, mentoring, education, certification, and awards that help advance their career and professional reputation.
Wow. Thank you both. That is great. So great to hear. You know, it's great to work for CXPA. And as a CX professional, as CCXP, I'm really excited about the direction as it relates to career support. You know, another thing that really got me excited, we spent a lot of time talking about the CX body of knowledge. And, you know, throughout those conversations, a word kept coming up, and that word is credibility, and how credibility really comes from solid, independent, research-based consensus. And, you know, having been involved in the CXPA CX job analysis work, it's so great to hear how really having this independent framework can help CX pros overcome some of those really big challenges that they face. You know, I think we hear all the time that CX pros have to spend all this time explaining CX techniques. And sometimes, you know, they're getting pushback from other departments in their organization because CX is a much newer field than marketing, than accounting, than finance. So, you know, it's really great to hear that participants want CXPA to have a stronger voice and take a stronger stance in communicating the importance and the power of our association as really that authoritative, unbiased, global resource that they can lean on. So, you know, lots of excitement and encouragement for us to deliver the CCXP certification in additional languages other than English. You know, we've got the CX Body of Knowledge project. We've got the Facilitating CX and Multi-Departmental organizations monograph series. So a lot of that exciting work kept coming up, and I think is going to be a really solid foundation for us as we move forward. So Greg, anything I missed there?
Gabe, once again, you've done a great job summing things up, and your leadership with those projects is appreciated as well. I enjoyed those conversations too, and credibility was at the core. But the word that stuck with me in the conversation was rubric. And for those that aren't familiar with the term rubric, it's used often by educators to mean a designated set of criteria that is used to assess or score a particular product or circumstance. And what that meant in the context of the conversations on Thursday and Friday was that we need to recognize that CXPA has an opportunity to help CX professionals understand those criteria, those levers, those decision points that are involved in guiding their CX career, guiding their CX program, guiding their CX success by understanding the various criteria that affect the situation. And in some cases, maybe providing guidance on how they can think about the choices, and that should always be based in consensus experience. It isn't about creating a simple playbook. It isn't about creating a consulting methodology that tells you thou must follow what I've said. It isn't about saying this is how the software works. It's about empowering the CX professional to recognize that CX and the organizations that we work in are complex, and that you need to be that leader that has the capacity to consider the multifaceted areas and have the leadership skills to lead your team to success. So the guiding statement that came out of the body of knowledge conversation is this, and will be embodied in our plan of work. Promote greater understanding of CX and CX professionals through promoting consensus definitions and knowledge established by consensus research and documented in the CXPA CX framework.
That's awesome, Greg. I really like the way that you summarized the conversations that we had last week. But one of the conversations that I was really, really excited about too was the conversation that we had about adopting a new regional focused approach to help CXPA share leadership and better adapt CXPA to members across the globe. So this includes really establishing leadership groups that will have a guiding voice on how CXPA operates in their region, in collaboration with both the CXPA board and with network leaders that we have in place. This is so important to me. This work is really about living our core value of ensuring that everyone is welcome, while at the same time making sure that we're advancing CX together. And Greg, I'm going to beat you to the punch here and share the guiding statement for the initiatives that we have around our global diversity and around our regional leadership. And that is to foster the CX community worldwide by cultivating content-driven regional communities that ensure cultural, social, economic, and CX maturity relevance. Support members to connect with one another in subject matter or geographic networks. So how'd I do that?
As usual, Barbie, you've not only nailed the content, but you've delivered it with passion. We know how much this means to you and how much this means to the CXPA community, that everyone feels welcome and everyone feels included and all voices are heard. And I'll just add a little bit on that last statement about supporting members to connect with one another. I think one of the neatest things about the CXPA community is that we've always sought to empower our members to gather and to lead, and that we believe in open collaborations that help advance CX. In fact, CX Day today is a great example of that. We welcome everyone to participate. A related point from the strategy conversations is that there's an amazing potential that we have to use that same approach to leverage connections with companies and content providers to advance towards CXPA's mission and vision. One really concrete idea that excited me in that area was the potential for CXPA to collaborate with the higher academic field. We've learned over the past year that CXPA is being taught in a number of different colleges and universities. And one of the participants in the sessions, I'll give him a shout out, Gary David, a CXPA member who's also a university professor, outlined some really practical ways that CXPA might partner to provide a curriculum resource center that would be based in the CXPA CX framework. And here's the cool part. He outlined an approach that would allow students, undergraduate students, to earn a micro-credential so that when you're looking to hire for your CX team, you can find people that already have been introduced and have a grounding in quality CX. So that would be great for us to connect to the next generation while encouraging them to come into CX careers and giving each of us a chance to add CX enthusiasts and CX educated students to our staffs.
Greg, I couldn't agree with you more. That was a really exciting direction for me too. You know, I have a background in education. And so as we think about that, you know, I think about our recognized training providers as well. You know, I see that spirit of teamwork and collaboration in them. And, you know, think about the fact that we've been able to double our number of recognized training providers over the past year. And the question becomes, you know, how can we go further by partnering with those who share our values and commitment to, again, that independent, consensus-driven CXPA body of knowledge. So great point there. Barbie, so we're entering the last quarter, just a few more months to go here in your term as CXPA chair. So, you know, as you look back over the past year, what's on your mind? What are some of your reflections?
So I would say that for me, the deepest, most meaningful reflection is that of this commitment to helping all of our members feel like they have a place, feel like they have a place where they belong, feel like they have a place where their voice is valued and heard, feel like they have a place where they can connect with other CX professionals and get the support that they need to thrive. One of the things that I appreciate about our members is that we're all doing things every day that's making a difference for the people that we touch and in the world around us. And that is really, really meaningful. So as I look at the work that we've carried through over the last 10 plus years and continuing into the future, it's all about continuing to make a difference in the world around us, continuing to come together with the consensus-based body of knowledge that we build around CX and supporting all of us who are part of our community and being welcoming to people that we want to encourage to be leaders in the future, to thrive and to grow and to make a difference in the world. So that's my lofty answer about what has been meaningful for me over the past year.
Yeah.
And in the past as well.
Yeah, and thank you for your positivity and passion. And I'm glad to know that you're not going very far, Barbie. And Nancy, you know, as you reflect on getting ready to start your term as a CXPA chair in January, what's on your mind?
Well, probably the first thing that's on my mind is how blessed I am to be able to continue a lot of the efforts that Barbie and Greg have forwarded over the past year. It's not all the time that you get to follow such amazing leaders, and Barbie's impact on this organization is going to go beyond this year. It's going to go on for a very, very long time, and I thank her for that. So there's a little pressure for the next year, but some of the other topics that are really top of mind for me is you know, our CCXP program is exceptional. It's a valued credential. It's a global credential. It is meaningful. Spent a lot of time this past year looking at that framework and making sure that it is the most valid credential a CX professional can have. But I'm also very excited about the idea of the micro-credentialing in different areas, as well as some other levels of credentialing. So credentialing comes up as something that we're really thinking about for this next year. I'm also very excited about the work that's not being done, not only in the Book of Knowledge, which is just crucial to the development of a lot of our resources. And I appreciate all the efforts going on there, but also in the Higher Education Committee. it is so important going forward that we not only have programs out there that forward the CX profession, but that we are starting at the very, very beginning in feeding diversity into our profession. And related to that is, it's really important to continue our diversity efforts, not as something extra, not as something separate, but part of every effort and every committee, every conversation that we have, and making sure that we are welcoming and we are including all voices and we are richer for it. So it's really important that that diversity aligns and is integrated into all of our efforts too. So I'm looking forward to an amazing year. I think it'll be a very busy year, but really excited to lead the board. And just a little bit of a mention that we are getting ready to start board recruitment. So each year we have certain board members that are nearing the end of their term, and we are looking for new board members. So would want to make sure that everyone knows that that process will be beginning in a really short time, and would love to have more applicants for the global board. We've made it pretty easy for you to find all of the volunteer activities. Maybe the board isn't something you want to do, but there's other ways you would like to contribute. And so all you have to do is go to cxpa.org/volunteer, and you'll see all of the opportunities there. We've made it really easy for you to express your interest. So I look forward to working and getting to know as many of our members as we can this next year, but also would love to have your voice in the mix as we're making all these advancements for this year. So thank you for everything you have done, and thank you for all the things that we're going to do this next year.
Well, thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Barbie. And thank you, Greg, for joining us today. And if you'd like to help shape the future of CX through professional work group involvement, it's a great day to become a professional member. Now through the end of October, you can take 20% off the cost of a new professional membership at CXPA.org using promo code CXDay2021. We hope you'll join us as we work to advance this discipline around the world and promote sound CX practices and independent standards. Happy CX Day, everyone.